Welcome back to another episode of Hot Air with me, Joshua Robert. And today we are pulling an episode from the Hot Air Vault, which, let's be real, the vault is only 5 months old, so this episode isn't actually that old, but I've been hanging on to it for a day when I was like, you know what? You've been talking a lot about politics lately. You've done 17 episodes about marriage equality. You have talked about the Trump administration and you are stressing yourself out. So I've been saving this episode for a time when I was like, okay, give the people a break. Give them a little reprieve from all the stressful craziness that is the world. This episode, in my opinion, is a little bit more fun. I am joined by my friend Chassidy, and she is a psychic and spiritual healer. We talk a lot about intuition, how to get in touch with your intuition. She also has a bunch of courses to help you get in touch with your intuition and manifest the greatness out of life. We talk about some of her spooky experiences as a spiritual healer, which if you know me outside of the pod, you know I live for anything spooky. And if you don't know me outside of the pod, now you know. Horror movies, paranormal, documentaries about death and ghosts, give it to me all day, every day. And at the end of this episode, Chassidy does a reading on me and helps me get in touch with my intuition. And this type of therapy can be a great alternative for anyone who maybe does not want to go into an office and talk about their emotions. Some people like that physical healing. Some people like seeking that psychic advice. And this one is kind of for those that might be skeptical and those that might be like so here for it like me. So we're not going to waste any time. We are just going to get right into it. So let's hit it. Start with a collective breath. In through the nose. This is your job. Exhale it out. We're fine. Because now I'm a little nervous. I'm like, oh. But that just means we're excited.
Excited.
Right? It's going to be good. Well, welcome and thank you for donating your time to this episode of
Thank
Hot
you
Air.
for having me. I'm actually very excited.
Good. Excitement over nervousness. Yes. So, yeah, welcome. We've known each other sort of for a long time. We used to work together.
Was in what, 2017?
Oh, gosh. Yes, I think it was very long. Quite a ways ago. Quite some time. And like we didn't really have a lot of interactions because I wasn't always at the club. You were a trainer. I was doing the marketing. So I was kind of like in and out rarely. So I was obviously excited to see your new journey and new path. And I remember this one day in the lunchroom. I don't know if you remember this. And I don't remember specifically what you said, but you were like, can I tell you something? And I was like, yes, you can. And I don't remember what you said. It had to do with a man that I was dating at the time. And you said something and I was like, how did you know that? What are you talking about? And then you sort of explained to me some of your abilities. And I've always been a very big believer in, being in touch with your intuition and psychic abilities and healing. And for me personally, I've always had experiences where I'm like, wait a second, am I psychic too? Like I'll have dreams and I'll be like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. Or I'll have a feeling about a friend and who I haven't talked to in a while, and I'll text and be like, something's up with you today. What's going on? They'll be like, how did you know? Some people are more in touch with their intuition than they're not. And obviously, you know a hell of a lot more about that than I do. And you'll get into that, of course. But I thought this was an important episode to have because I talk a lot about traditional therapy in my other episodes. And there's a lot of people that aren't comfortable going to traditional therapy. And there's a lot of people that are more comfortable probably speaking to somebody like you. I have a lot of friends that rely on psychics that they've built a relationship with to, talk to things, just like I rely on my therapist, Brian, when I go to his office because he knows me and I've developed that relationship with him. So I thought this would be not only a fun episode to do, but something that other people that maybe don't relate to the traditional sit in an office on some man's sofa type of therapy, they might relate to this a little bit more. And if I do say anything that is like, I don't want to use the word offensive, but like, I want to, if I say like woo woo and that's like not a term that like is comfortable, please let me know.
Or say whatever.
Because again, I don't know.
It is a lot is woo woo. Yes. 100%.
But I'm here for the woo woo. Listen, it was a full moon yesterday and I walked into my kitchen and I looked at the moon and I was like, listen, this is what I'm going to release. And this is what I'm going to welcome in. I always do a full moon ceremony. It was like an itty bitty one last night, but I stare at the full moon and I talk to it. So I'm all about it. But for those that are not, and some people that maybe are slightly interested, but haven't, dived into their spirituality or their connection with themselves or their energy or their intuition, hopefully we will maybe enlighten some people and welcome them into that world today. But before we do, because I could just keep talking and talking and talking, why don't you explain a little bit about who you are, where you're from, your background, all those good things so we can get to know you.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Chassidy Escobedo. So I am the CEO and founder of Synergy of Self. And so where I am from, oh man. So my background, I started in Oregon and I went to Texas and then I came here. Now, how I got into the spiritual realm was actually I went through a lot of trauma. And so my whole younger, years has been painted with trauma. And that's where I found my spiritual gifts. So I work a little bit better if you ask me questions, but the trauma actually started in Oregon, followed over into Texas, and then I basically came here to get away from all of that. And I have been here since I was 19 and I am 37 now. And so I stayed. So I found myself in California.
I feel like everyone finds themselves here. You can't go wrong. Like San Diego is great. So when I met you, you were a trainer. So when you started in that realm, that industry, was that part of your healing journey? Why did you become
So actually I started off in body work. So I ended up in body work and being a holistic health practitioner. I worked with Deepak Chopra at his facility. So I actually did the services on people that would come to process trauma. And then I became into the fitness world and then I did the spiritual. And so I noticed that source, God, universe has taken me into body, mind, and soul. So I have literally sat with the body on so many different levels, sat with the mind and sat with intuition. And so that was part of my journey in my gifts, because a part of my gifts, I can also body scan. I can help people test their food, their supplements when it comes to their body. So it's really around like health and wellness, like body, mind, and soul. It's kind of unique. So,
and when did you realize that you had these gifts? How did you come about the understanding of them and just realizing that you had these abilities and gifts?
So actually I was working at the Chopra Center and I had a coworker and she told me that I was intuitive and she was my first Reiki teacher. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, here, test it on me. She's like, just tell me the first things that you see. And we were in one of the service rooms and I just remember seeing like Mary Poppins, rabbits, like all these random things. And I said it to her. And so she helped me understand what I was seeing. And so the Mary Poppins with the umbrella, well, she had an umbrella when she went to the street fair or something like that. And on her way into work, she saw rabbits. So I was reading what was happening throughout like her timeline.
That's cool. So then you were just like, okay, I'm all in.
I started to study like super hard. I studied with her and then I studied with a few other teachers and then I got really into it and studied on my own. So I would study my dreams. I would do deep meditations from like an hour to even longer, like sitting in that space, basically the void of stillness to listen. I did past life regressions on my own in my meditations and it was a lot.
Yeah, that's, I imagine, very intense.
It was the most beautiful, easiest healing I've ever experienced because I also have done talk therapy. And talk therapy, in my experience, like when you sit with somebody, they take you a lot through the analytical. And in my experience, they didn't quite take you in the body, right? They didn't pull out the stuff from your cells and your DNA. And anyone who's ever been through trauma, like, let's be real, that shit is intense, right? Like you tend to be in fight or flight or you get triggered. Now, when a trigger happens in like the human experience, you're not just being triggered in that moment, but you're triggered every time you had that trigger. So that's why triggers are so intense. So if you're ever fighting with a partner or a parent or whatever it is, it's literally years of stuff coming out of passion.
But I like the body side of it because I thought a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I think most people know that we hold on to trauma and our experiences, but maybe not the extent of it. And somebody that I know has experience with a lot of trauma with men in their lives. And that person, her left
Mhm.
hand basically
Oh,
died, and it was kind of unexplainable, and I was there. It turned black over, a few weeks, and she had to have it amputated. And then about a year or 2
mhm,
later, I was referred to a psychic from one of my friends, and I was talking to
mhm,
her, and I was asking about the health of this
mhm.
person who lost their arm. And the psychic told me that that particular body part was related to
Mhm.
trauma with men, and I just found that, like, very interesting that it
Yeah,
was so
yeah,
specific, and this was before I had really given her many
yeah.
details, and she really just kind of solidified, and that's when I started thinking about, like, how much the body holds on to certain things. And for somebody, that person that I know had trauma with multiple
Mm,
men from a very, very young age until
mhm.
30s, and then all of a sudden, that limb just decided, "I'm
Yeah,
out," like, and just died. And this was before she had started really going to therapy.
yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. And I think it's important for us all to do more than just, like you said, the analytical
Yes.
stuff. And I love that stuff, understanding why my brain does certain
Mhm.
things, or, the things that are maybe passed down, but there's so much more to it, like you said, in the physical. So I think
Huge.
that's really important because I'm not trying to lose
Yeah.
an arm or a leg or a kidney or something. That's where we hold on to our
Well,
shit,
check
right?
this out. Anytime, and then for whoever is listening, right? Now, everyone knows ChatGPT, and if you don't know ChatGPT, this is your time to get to know it in this conversation.
Where are you?
Yes. But
Where have you
you
been?
can actually, let's just say, if your back aches, right, or you're feeling something in your knee or something happens, well, the right side is masculine, the left side is feminine. So as you're talking about her left, now left side is receiving, right side is giving, right side is stepping into the future, left side is coming out of the past. Now, all of our body parts are connected to certain things. So I guarantee you, if you did it right now, looked up on ChatGPT, what is the spiritual meaning of losing your left hand? It'll tell you. And I guarantee you it's going to match
Mhm.
what happened in her life. Now, this goes for
Right.
anybody who's listening. When you have body aches or certain stuff, or say you're going through a moment or a trigger, or whatever it is, and it's somewhere in your body, I guarantee you it's going to match something like back stuff or along where the kidneys are usually represents anger, somebody holding on to something.
Mhm.
Those that have accumulated cancer in certain parts of their body, if it's the prostate, lungs, whatever it is all tied to usually some form of trauma that happened to somebody. Now, granted, yes, there's other things that I'm sure come up, but a big part is what we've accumulated over our life. If we're holding on to shame, guilt, grief, anger, resentment, you name it.
I'm gonna ChatGPT, "My whole body hurts. What what does this mean? Please, dear God, help." No, but that's really good. I use ChatGPT for so much stuff.
Yeah.
I used it before I started going to
Yes.
therapy. Like, I went through a rough time in
Yes.
January, but it was so
Yes.
helpful, and it was before I found my new therapist who I was
Yeah.
vibing with. And my friend Brittany the other day, she was ChatGPTing something, like, with her star signs, and she sent me these prompts, and she's like, "You
Yeah.
have to do this." And I've done certain things, but I've never really thought about that
Yeah.
depth of it. So I'm gonna do
And
that. Or well, maybe I won't need to do it
do
after
your
we're done, but
dreams. Honestly, anything anytime that you
I should. I have crazy
Yes. Oh
dreams.
my gosh, I got the chills because you'll start to understand. And this is what will actually also heighten your intuition. Anytime you bring awareness to yourself at your body, mind, and soul, that will make you more aware intuitively, instantly. So when you start to
Mhm.
study your dreams, you're going to start to realize what is falling away from your life, what triggers are still in your body, what actually, like, source, God, spirit, whatever you believe, is trying to talk to you, and it'll be a trip. So when you said, when we first started, those synchronicities where you're thinking of a friend, all of a sudden you're going to know how they're feeling. You're thinking, you'll start to, like, feel energies on different levels. I'm telling you, instantly,
Yeah.
instantly.
Yeah, I have, very vivid, like, every night, the longest dreams. It's like I'm in, like, a 7-hour movie, and every morning, I will send my one
Yeah,
friend Jessica, and she'll send
yeah,
me voice memos too. It'll be like, "So last night, my dream, da da da
yeah,
da da da," and I could go on, and sometimes when I tell people my dreams, I can see them looking at me being like, "You have to be making this up. Like, how do you
yeah,
remember all of these wild details?" I'm like, "A, like, I never
yeah,
sleep well because my brain
yeah,
doesn't stop, but I just remember it, and they're always so sometimes I wake up and I'll, like, make a voice note
yes,
about it because I'm like, "This is too crazy," but I have never considered putting it into ChatGPT, and
mhm,
now That's how I'm gonna spend my
Okay.
mornings every morning. That's a really good idea.
Inspired.
I love that. I used to have one of those books too, those dream
Yes.
books, and I always
Well,
found that really
share it
interesting.
because I'm curious to see how much, again, you're waking up. And I have to say, even with this, by you starting this podcast, this is awareness. I'm telling you, I'd be so surprised
Mhm.
if your intuition hits a different level because you're bringing a different awareness to the collective, which is healing.
Honestly, I've
Mhm.
felt that I've just been, noticing a few more, like, little signs and just also the way I'm
Yeah.
feeling internally since I've started
Mhm.
this, and bringing it back again to my friend Brittany, we've been texting back and forth about, like, these random little things that keep happening that we're like, "Oh, like, this is odd," or, "This
Yeah.
stands out," and we're both becoming, I think, a
Mhm.
little bit more aware, and I've always
Mhm.
wanted to, and I've never, I guess, thought enough about it to, like, start putting in the work, but I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think slowly but
Yeah.
surely. So, okay, let's bring it back to you because that's why you're here. I'm curious, you told me that you had some
Yeah.
courses,
Yes.
right? And I'm curious what those look like. Are they available for people? Are you still working on them? What are those?
So, they're almost available. I'm putting them into a PowerPoint proactive course where you can go in and actually, pick, is it going to be A, B, or C, or fill in the blank kind of thing versus just do some kind of recording. I want this to be more fun and engaging. But my courses are around shadow work. And shadow work is all the things most of the time that we tend to reject about ourselves, whether you constantly hear people, oh, that person's playing the victim, or they're needy, or they're the hero, the person that has to save. Well, when we have shadows, there's medicine in that. So let's just say the victim, right? So have you ever heard somebody plays the victim? Well, that's because there's a component within them. When they play the victim, they need that love, they need that outside care. So once someone becomes aware of their shadow, then they start to give that care to themselves versus reaching outside of themselves. So I go in and I have listed, I think, 16 different shadows. And there's so many because, I mean, let's be real, we're humans. We have all kinds of shit. So, but in this is to help people be aware of themselves. Because remember, I said like awareness, the more that you start to be aware of yourself, your body, your mind, your soul, your intuition turns on like no other. Now, intuition, how people become intuitive is how far they see within themselves. So the more you see within yourselves, the more you can see without. So I'd be curious, even going to you, since we're on this, the more that you heal yourself, that's how you can see that within someone else. So play around with that because you're so in this and you're interviewing so many other people. I swear, I'm telling you, you're going to be so intuitive. And anybody who pays attention to this or who listens to this podcast, they're also going to become intuitive because it's awareness. So the next course is
Right.
also healing the mother wound. And let's be real, we have a lot of that. So I'm going to do healing the mother wound, healing the father wound, and then I'm going to go into healing ancestral trauma. So anything that was passed down from generation to generation. And yes, like we hear about that, but not a lot of people know what that looks like, how to heal it. And we're still stuck in that state of whatever happened to us. We're like, well, F you, versus looking at it from a healed higher version and how to separate that and also pull the strengths from that. Because if we've been through trauma, I guarantee you, whoever has gone through trauma is some badass in some form in their life where they are a motivational speaker or they have strength like no other. There's some type A person that can make now a buttload of money because they came from poverty or hurt. So I guarantee you, have some form of a superpower. So I try to highlight that in everything that I work on.
I think that even if people are
Totally.
reluctant to
Totally.
try, this type of
Mhm.
healing and this type of, you said the shadow work, like there's that
Yeah.
shadow work book that my friend Natalie
Yeah.
gave me. And I did like a little bit of it. But even just that, some people aren't
Mhm.
willing to, but even if you're not like 100%
Yeah.
open to that experience, there's still something that you can take
Totally.
from it and learn from it. Just like I was talking to someone today about how she went to
Mhm.
church on Sunday and she's not a religious
Yeah.
person, but her friend wanted her to go. And we were talking about, like, I'm also not religious in
Yeah.
that regard, but if I went, like, there's still a
Yeah.
message there. There's still something that could
Yeah.
be learned. And so that probably, I would imagine, is the same
Yes.
here. Like, there's still something to
Yeah.
be learned and to be taken from it, even if you're not like me, who's like just open to
Easy yet.
everything, right? And I'm like, yes, absolutely, I'll take it. I'll believe it all. Let's heal. Let's
Yes.
work. Let's get into
Yes.
it. But I think I think, people that might even be reluctant, that's almost more of a
Yeah.
reason to try something new like that.
So in all
Oh,
my
go ahead.
courses, I've mixed science with subconscious healing and the just, yeah, and everything. So I break everything down from if it's shadow work, but it also talks about where the science is behind that, what is caused behind that, where the subconscious pattern comes from that. There's also EFT tapping that's in there. There's words of affirmation. So I blended everything from spiritual and science based in all my work.
Love that, and that's really
Yes.
helpful because when I go to my more traditional
Yeah.
therapy, or even when I'm reading, like, one of the books, like
Yeah.
Leptin Theory or something I was reading, and when they point out, a part in your brain where
Yes.
something takes place, now when I get stressed out or I have anxiety, I'm like, "Oh, it's my amygdala. It's just that little thing in there." Like, that
Yes,
resonates
you
with
bet.
people sometimes when they can make it a little bit more tangible,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think.
so when you talked about, like,
Yeah.
woo-woo, like, okay, yeah, in the spiritual realm, there's a lot of woo-woo, but I'm a realist. So I like the science, I like the knowledge, I love to know about, like, the quantum, the energy, the real stuff, and why science and spirituality come together. So that's actually how I base a lot of my work. So I don't just go
I
into
love
the
that.
woo-woo,
Yeah.
even though I am a psychic medium. Yeah, I bring it down to
It's not just all
yes.
about
No, it
that,
is
yeah.
not. Yeah.
I'm
Yes, sir.
curious, do you notice, like, a trend across your
Mhm.
clients? Is there something like, like a barber will have a certain type of client or a personal trainer will have a certain type of
Yeah.
client, like a demographic or something that you're like, "Oh, we all have this in common."
Okay, so usually this is how this works. When even for myself, say people in your world, anybody's world, we will attract usually our own mirrors within ourselves. So our outer world is a reflection of our inner. So when we get clients, people, certain whatever, it's because we're holding that vibration within us. So vibration matches vibration, and this is also science based. So when you're asking like the people that I work with are usually matching the vibrations within myself. Like I
Mhm.
said, in anybody's world, if you have a lot of chaos, you have that vibration within yourself. If you have a lot of people that are like super emotional, then that means that you probably have that vibration within yourself. Yeah.
Okay, that's
It's
interesting, and that's a different
yeah.
way of,
Mhm.
identifying what you all have in common.
Yeah.
I like that. It makes me think because 'cause I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, a lot of the clients that I still personal train are 80 and 90
Mhm.
years old, so does that mean I'm 80 and 90 years
Yeah.
old?" No, I actually think I attract them because I like learning
Yeah.
things from people that are much
Yeah.
older than me, and I'm always inquiring about their life and experiences, so I think that's probably
Yeah.
why I get those
Well, you're
people
you're
that come
seeking
to me.
wisdom. You're holding space for
Yeah.
wisdom. Yeah.
I'd love to be very wise. Now, when you're
Mhm.
met with either like
Well, they
skepticism or like
yeah.
misconceptions in the field that you're
Yes.
in, how do you navigate that?
Oh, usually because I'm psychic and intuitive, I'll end up reading their energy right on the spot. So I will tell them something about themselves that they have not shared with me. With one of my gifts, I will feel whoever's in front of me. And sometimes I even read mine. So I can tell where they're holding something in their body, and I will point it out, and at the moment I start to point it out, like, them being skeptic totally goes out the window. And the moment somebody opens
Right.
up, and I do ask for permission because I don't just try to read anybody at any point in time, and that is very rude, but when that happens and I share space, that's where the bond happens. And I get a lot of people, science based doctors, physical therapists that will meet with me, executives, like data analytic people, like I mean, people who are not in the spiritual world at all, but bringing them into a state of just feeling peace in their body or being able to know that they're holding something that they want to let go. In the moment that I can identify that, it's free range from there.
Yeah, that's one way to, knock their
Yeah.
skepticism out of the way real
Yes.
quick. Let me read your mind for a moment. You were looking down when you said that, but my eyes are like, "Oh, is she reading my mind right now?"
You,
That's so funny. Actually, you know what I'm gonna ask next. No, I do
yeah.
wanna ask, I'm opening your Instagram here very
Yes.
quickly.
I know, I kinda merged over to
Do you
TikTok a little bit more. I haven't really been.
I just started adding my stuff
Oh,
on there because my barber was like, "You gotta put your stuff on
it's the best.
TikTok," and we don't follow each
Yeah,
other there, so
it's
we
the
should.
best.
So, I'm curious what exactly a quantum healer is, and I'm sure everyone listening is as
Yes, well,
well.
I know because the word quantum, let's be honest, that's woo-woo as AF, right? So you hear that a lot, but quantum for me and what that means because you have the quantum field, right? So quantum is the all energy of everything. So with the energy that I do, because I can feel people at the level that I do, I can even feel people who are in different countries. Like most of my sessions that I do are via Zoom. So to tap into somebody's energy like across the world, that is the quantum, like the quantum field. So when I work with that energy clearing, looking inside somebody's house, and then being able to do like an energy healing from far away, like I said, even via text, you don't even have to be on the screen. I don't have to be on a call with you. If you're texting me, hey, which my clients do, can you please help me shift this? I don't feel good. I don't know what's going on. I will scan their supplements. I will start to do whatever. So that for me is a quantum healer. I've worked with Reiki healers, but Reiki is definitely more hands like holding over position. There is some distance healing, but I'm at a little bit more of a heightened level. So that's why I said the quantum, because
Right.
I also tap into the quantum field of healing.
I always wondered how that kind of worked when my friends are like, "Oh, have a Zoom or a phone call with, a psychic that they've been speaking to for a while."
Yeah.
Like, I think there's also the misconception about you have to be in
Yes.
person, and I think I also, until I spoke to somebody on the phone and had a moment, kind of like how you dispelled people's
Yeah.
disbelief when the person I was speaking to was, very spot on. I had 3 full pages of
Yeah.
questions. I didn't even ask a single one. She went through all of them and basically answered them, and I was like, "Well, I have nothing to ask you
Love that.
now." It was so cool. But I was honestly a little bit
Yeah.
skeptical because I am a very, like, in-person type of person, and even doing my podcast
Yeah.
episodes not in person, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I wanna do that," because I like the
Totally.
face-to-face, but someone like yourself, like you said, you're
Mhm.
heightened and you can clearly do those things,
Yes.
remotely, which is great for you. Is it exhausting? Does it get
It
tiring emotionally,
it can
physically?
a little bit depending on how many sessions you run. So, being also a mediumship, talking to those that have crossed over. So, when you're tapping into the void, right, or the afterlife or that kind of energy, you're running a lot. Absolutely. I would not want to take more than 3 90-minute energy sessions a day. Yeah, because when you're working with
Okay,
someone
yeah,
else's energy, their trauma, their pain, you pull from the past, you go into the future, you pull them from multiple lifetimes depending on what they believe in, you hold space. Now, for me, when I do a session with someone, so I actually raise them up so they can hear, see, and feel at my level. So I don't just do an intuitive channel, which I'm sure you've experienced a psychic just tell you what they see. I'll have you go see it and feel it and hear it for yourself. So I work much different than most. Now, even on the mediumship side, I do the same thing. So, mediumship, they mostly channel from someone's loved one or past pet that has crossed over. Well, imagine going in and hearing your own answers within the first session, whether
right,
you believe in that shit or not. So,
right.
yes, there can be some energy, I would say, exhaustion in there, but only because you're holding so much space.
Do you always work that way, or do you ever just relay messages that you receive to the person, or do you always bring your clients into it so they receive it
I always bring
themselves?
my clients into it because being a skeptic, and I'm super skeptic. If someone's like, "Oh, I'm good," I'm like, "How good?" You know what I mean? Because I've had the times where I talk to psychics and like, yeah, they tell you a bunch of stuff. Some of it happens, some of it doesn't. Like, that's great. And I'm like, how do you
Mhm.
get there? There's no action
Right.
plan. I didn't see it for myself. Like, yeah, you might feel good in the moment based on what you heard. And so, and I've had people just be so far off, some be good, some not be good. So I like to lift my clients up so they hear it and see it for themselves. Now, when that happens and I connect them to their own intuition, because it's not my intuition, then they forever have those gifts after. They don't need me. Once you're on, you're
Okay.
on. Once you turn on that switch, the switch is on. And actually, what I want to do in this session, I want
Oh, no.
to
Ah!
it's actually really good. I want to help
Okay.
channel you into feeling your intuitive yes and no. And what I mean by that is what yes and no means for you. So if you go through life and you're like, fuck, should I take this job opportunity or should I, go down this path or whatever it is, right? Should I invest in this? Should I quit this? Whatever it is. Imagine if you could really hear your inner voice without running that through your head over and over, or you have to talk to your friends to try to figure it out. And whatever. So, yes,
Mhm.
that's if you're ready, if that's something you wanna do, but I would love for you to
I mean, I'm
tell
always
you.
down for anything and
Yes,
everything. We'll
good.
get there.
Okay,
We'll get there. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna let you take over here in a second, and you're gonna do what it is that you
okay.
do. I'm
Yes.
curious, when you started realizing your gifts and as a psychic medium and you started
Yeah,
receiving those messages, from people that have
yeah,
passed, how did you initially receive them? And then how did you understand them? Because, you always see things on TV where it's like, oh, someone heard
yeah,
voices or saw
yeah,
something, with their mind's eye or
yes,
physically, and then they have to figure out what that
yes.
means, or people don't realize what it means. Like, what was that
It
like
is
for
so
you?
true when you see the funny Instagram woo-woo stuff of, like, spirits talking to you, and it's, like, sounds like gibberish and squeaking and whatever. It's really like that because stuff will come through in colors, sounds, noises, knowings. So I hear stuff, I see stuff within my mind's eye. When I look, I can see stuff, like, almost like have you ever daydreamed super hard and you can almost see an image, but your eyes are still open and you still see the physical? I'll see on that
Mhm.
level. And then I'll hear things and then I will feel it within my own energy. So when stuff was coming in, I don't know what it was. And I do believe stuff came in when I was doing body work because I was in a room working on a physical body in the dark, hours at a time, and I would daydream a lot and I didn't know what it was. And I think because I spent so much time being so close to a physical body, healing a body, that stuff started to turn on. And so when stuff would come in, I would even have to say out loud, like, nothing is welcomed in my house. Whatever is trying to talk to me, this is my space. I don't want to hear because when you first start intuition, just open up to everything. So everything comes in. And I watch every healer do this. And I'm like, oh, you're going to get drained. Oh, it's going to be too much and they end up being either overly emotional or too tired. But yeah, it floods in like crazy. And it's gibberish until you understand your code. Like red means a
Right.
certain color to you. It's like understanding the world through your eyes. Yeah, it gets unique.
That's like learning a
Yeah.
different language, right? And figuring out, and you have to figure out for yourself,
Yes.
what all those things kind of
Well,
mean,
so I
maybe?
thought. Well, then I started to go in, and this is also in one of my other courses, which is the intuition for it's a beginner's guide. And I talk about how you can teach your intuition how to talk to you. You can actually,
Oh, cool.
and it's a trip, you can tell it what you need. And it's like a relationship. Well, in any relationship, you show love, appreciation, you make time to listen, and then you also make time to communicate. And there's going to be days like we don't have full faith. You ever hear that? Oh, just have faith. I'm like, again, coming from the skeptic, I'm like, no, I need you to show me. So I got my intuition to start to show me. And I would use it, not test it in a negative way, but test in the way so I can hear it and understand it. And there's going to be days I'm like, I don't have 100% to give to you. Like, give me 80 because I'm at a 20 and it would show up. I've manifested money, opportunities, health, deeper synchronicities. And so I've learned to do that. And that's also what I teach my clients is how to teach it how to talk to you. So you're not just hearing a bunch of shit, just like, okay, I'm having faith. Because when life happens and you go through trauma or money stuff or sickness, like, fuck, we don't have faith. We're at the bare minimum
Yeah.
or the bare minimal. And so we need deeper signs.
That's kind of where I was gonna
Yeah.
go next with manifesting, because I was gonna ask you, like, what
Yeah.
your perspective or opinion is on that, because when I first moved to
Okay.
LA in, gosh, I think it was 14 years ago, I could manifest anything so quickly
Yes.
because I just had so much, like, excitement and zest for life. I knew what I
Mm,
wanted. I was very focused. Like, I wanted my working visa. I wanted an agent, and I wanted the best agent. I didn't just want any dance agent. I wanted the best of the
yeah.
best. And all these opportunities
Mhm.
started, like, falling into my lap. I got signed within, like, weeks of moving to
Yeah.
LA with no I also didn't even have an apartment when I was driving. Some random guy, do you remember Plenty of Fish? That dating site? Some random some random guy on Plenty of Fish. He was like, this is how crazy I was at the time. Crazy, like in a
Yeah.
good way. We were talking before I even moved there, and he offered to go look for apartments for me. And we had never spoken like on the phone or anything. And I was like, sweet. And he's like, what are you
Yeah.
looking for? And I was like, I want a large studio
Mhm.
apartment with hardwood floors and brick walls and those old double
Uh-huh.
windows that just open and da
Yeah.
da da da. And I like saw it, and I was like, I will not
Yeah.
settle for anything less. So you better
Yeah.
find me that apartment. And he found me the exact like thing that I was looking for. And I was like, sweet. At the time, I didn't realize, like, I think I
Oh,
manifested
totally.
that. And I just like knew and I saw and I knew what I
Totally.
wanted. Got there, had an apartment, got signed to the second best dance agency in the country. They were sponsoring my working visa, like, and all the things that I
Yeah.
wanted just
Yeah.
happened. And I met the right people at the right time to introduce me to the right people. And then I think I started to become a little bit
Mhm.
jaded. And, LA
Yeah.
is hard. The entertainment industry is hard. And I think I started to lose a little bit of
Mhm.
belief. And then I started, dating someone who didn't nourish that side of me or my artistic side either. And so then I kind of lost sight of
Mhm.
that. And I've kind of found it a little bit difficult to jump back
Mhm.
into that manifesting, because I
Yeah.
used to just whatever I wanted would just
Yeah.
come, and I was doing something
Yeah.
right. And then now as I'm getting older, I'm like, "Does
Yeah.
it work? Oh, this is never gonna happen." And then I'm like, "No, like, remain positive, reread whatever book it was you read at
Yeah.
that time." So anyway, my question for
Mhm.
you, I guess, was your perspective
Yes.
on
Yes.
manifesting and
Okay,
manifesting.
so manifesting is beautiful. Now, manifesting, right? You said this in the very beginning. You said you were full of excitement. Your world matched the inner world. You were excited, free, careless. There was no jaded, right? So you manifested like that. Now, you people talk about, oh, manifest this. And then they say you need to embody the version of what you're trying to manifest. Well, you manifested because that version was already within you. When you were so excited and you were in this state, you can pull from wherever the frick you wanted to pull from. Now, this is the other part. If we go through something in life and say that trauma, that vibration is within us, and we're like, okay, we went through a hard space of money and say now we just want to pull in a lot of money. Well, if we're afraid that money is not going to stick around or stay with us or whatever it is, we can't pull in that manifestation, even though, say, our mind wants it, but our body is not trusting that it's going to happen. So, manifestation, sometimes how I hear on the internet sounds so woo woo. I'm like, oh, you could do this, but it's like, okay, well, are you really healing the person so they can? Because again, your inner world will match your outer. So, if you want to go manifest some shit, take your inner world and really think about it and sit with it and get rid of the stuff that is no longer meant to be there. And I guarantee you, you'll go back in and pull in that same excitement. It wasn't about the book, it was how you felt.
That
Yeah.
makes sense, yeah. And yeah, it was just like a completely different
Yeah.
life, and I was excited
Yeah.
about
Totally.
life, and I just
Yeah.
knew I was focused, I knew what I wanted, so it was just easy,
Yeah.
I guess, to get
Yeah.
it, right? Okay, well, I have one more question for you, and I only
Yeah.
asking this because when you were saying, like, you used to have to come home and be like, "Nothing is welcome
Yes.
here," like, when you're exhausted or,
Yes.
like, weird shit's happening or
Yeah.
whatever. Just because me, my mom, my sister, we've always
Mhm.
had, like, interesting, spooky
Yes.
experiences. I'm curious if you've ever had anything, maybe a more negative experience while you were
Oh,
healing
yeah.
somebody or working with somebody or coming home or what? Because
Yes.
I mean, I live for this stuff. Those are the only documentaries that I
Yeah.
watch, so I'm now I'm just curious.
Yes, when I was younger, I remember, like, the radio would turn on or things would flicker, or I used to get really gnarly dreams where I was tormented to the point, like and because I was brought up Christian, I was a missionary, so going still Christian, but from the Christian to the spiritual, I used to get a lot of, tormenting, like demonic tormenting, and the higher I got towards the intuition, the more I got like tormented. Now I'm so much into my practice that when I work with people, I will pull stuff off of them. Like, and I have made it very clear in my intuition, I don't want to see it because I will start to see stuff. I remember I was cleaning and clearing somebody's house, never been there before. And so we were talking via text. And so I channeled and I was looking through. And I remember right when I got to her front door, there was this thing and it looked kind of like this creepy Dracula, right? But from the back. And all of a sudden it started to turn around and I could,
Oh,
yeah.
no. I have full body chills
As
right
it
now. I
was
can't.
starting to turn around, before it even got to the side of the face, I was like, heck no, I'm not trying to see you. And I just started to channel for it to leave and demand for it to leave. But I've made it very clear. Some people like to see certain things. I do not. That is not the realm of that I want to see. Even when I channel those that have crossover, I try not to even see them because that's just not my space. I'm very sensitive. I can't even watch horror movies anymore in my life. Like, I just can't.
Right.
Even sometimes on the news or certain stuff, I can't do it. So, yes, it's for a person. It just depends on how far you want to go. But when I would have those demonic dreams, I would see everything to the point something would touch me and I'd wake up. It was so very specific. And when you talk about your dreams, I can go in my dreams and like pick stuff up, open doors. I can go in a room, look around, tell you what's on the table, come out, and I can maze and navigate. I can talk to people and do things. Yeah, so it was very interesting when I was younger, before I knew how to basically set my own rules. Because, right, our bodies,
Right.
our mind, our intuition. So nothing is allowed to be in our space if we don't allow it. And so I think a lot of people forget that. So anytime you have anything that's creepy, just be like, no, this is my space, my law,
Yeah.
my rules, get the F out.
I do that sometimes. We've always had like
Yeah.
spooky-ish paranormal things happen. I could, we'll save that for a October Halloween episode maybe.
Yeah.
But my sister too, and sometimes my sister will text me and she'll be like, "Has anything like been happening to you a lot lately?" And then I'm like, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but sometimes I'll just be here in bed and I'll just be like, something like
Yes.
feels off or
Yes.
odd, and I'm just like, I'm not in the
Yes.
mood, like it's not happening. I've only one time
Yeah.
in my life seen
Oh,
one thing physically, and it was just a black thing of
yes.
smoke, and it was just coming. There was like these hedges
Oh,
at this old house and whatever. I was very young, so it's like I vaguely
yeah.
remember it. But yeah, I've definitely sometimes like just felt uncomfy out of
Yeah.
nowhere and been
Oh,
like,
yeah.
bitch, please, not
Yeah.
today. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you said something about the lights flickering. I always
Mhm.
notice like when I'm driving or walking down the street or whatever, I always will just be driving and I'll look at a light and it will just flicker off.
Look
Always.
up
Like at least once a month probably. And I've heard a little something about this, but I'm not too
ChatGPT, what
familiar.
happens when you look at a light and it flickers off. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna
Everything.
chat GPT to
Yes.
death
Yes,
tonight
I'm gonna start
once we're
I'm
done
gonna
here.
send you what I also get, because again, once you start to pay attention, like a fork falls on the floor, right? You go to pick it up with like the left hand or the right and be as specific and it'll start to tell you certain stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm done with my questions. So I'm going to pass the control to
Okay.
you and do, I guess whatever you're comfortable with,
Okay.
whatever you had planned, whatever you feel, and I'm going to follow your
Are
lead.
you ready? It's so unique. Okay, so I
Yes.
want to help you find your yes and no's for your body. Now, I can't make you feel any of these things, right? And so as we do this, and this is super simple, I'm going to have you close your eyes. Now, if I prompt you to say anything, you're going to say it out loud. Now, just like, and a lot of people don't understand this with intuition, and most of the time we stay in our heads, right? Well, how do you talk to a relationship in your head? Like, that shit ain't going to work. You know what I mean? So when we say things out loud, and then I just want you to sit and feel. Now, the moment you see, hear, or feel something, say it out loud. And that is just going to bring awareness. And we're just going to start by the yes and no. And this is just to help you, like I said, in life, for when something comes up, to lean on this. You don't have to lean on anybody else, because we are our deepest compass and people just don't know how to use their own compass. So I'm just going to show you. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to dim
Yeah.
this ring light because I think it's blinding
Okay,
me and it's
good.
going to distract me. So, oh, that's better. My
Is
eyes
it?
were
Okay.
not better for my face, but better for probably my thought process.
I think you just look really tan and beautiful.
I'm like far too tan, but thank you.
Okay, good, good,
Focus.
good.
Just kidding. Tricked ya. You're going to have to stick around for the Hot Flash minisode that comes out this Friday if you want to listen to my reading with Chassidy and see what I saw inside of my head while she was guiding me through her process. It was very cool, very eye-opening. I'm a little bit nervous to actually share that part of the episode, but I'm going to do it anyway. So stick around this Friday, Hot Flash minisode, and you can hear the entire reading then. And as you know, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at _hotairpod. You can also submit your stories on my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com. And wherever you're listening, in whatever podcast app, at the very top of the episode description, should be there, you can text me directly. Whether you're sharing your story, whether you have a topic you think I should discuss, or a guest you want to refer to me, you can literally tap that button. It'll open up your text. Send me a text. I will receive it. Will I respond? I'm pretty bad at texting back, but I'll try my best. So stay tuned for the second part of this episode with Chassidy and my private reading. And I'll be back next week with your full-length hot air episode. So until then, I'll see you next Tuesday.